We've got news on beef prices at the grocery store. We're going to talk about the weather impact on the peaches. And Matthew is on camera all today on this episode of the Arkansas AgCast.
You're listening to the Arkansas AgCast, where we discuss the latest news, trends, and issues impacting Arkansas farmers and ranchers. Our show is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation and hosted by Jason Brown and John Nickman.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. It is Wednesday morning. We're recording this a little bit early.
Just a little.
Because Mr. Johnny Mack has got some important business to handle tomorrow.
Yeah, we got a department retreat where we're going to discuss some strategy for the coming year.
Man, I
we
like
do
it.
annually.
Yeah.
Is it because your team was so bad at fantasy football last year?
Probably because I was so bad, yeah. That's a separate podcast. We can discuss those issues I had this year with. I'll keep in mind, I was the organizer, let's call it president of the Fantasy Football League this year at Farm Bureau, and I came in dead last.
You know, you took the words out of my mouth. I think that's a thing. Like the commissioner always does pretty poorly, in my experience. And I think it's because you guys are too busy out doing
Now,
work.
if I'd have come out and won the whole league the first year and I was commissioner, then there would be all these allegations of cheating. And
nobody would come back for year two.
Yeah. And I was also But that's something we can discuss later.
Yeah, so it's
Thanks, Matthew, for bringing that up.
I mean, you got one win.
Dude, fresh out of the gate.
Just keep on putting them in there, all right?
It's Wednesday. We're going to pretend like it's Thursday. You may hear us call it Thursday. You may hear us call it Wednesday. I don't know. But anyway, well, it's like I said, it's Wednesday. But just curious, how's the week been for you guys? Anything cool happened?
Well,
did you do anything fun last weekend? The weather finally got right Sunday.
I might have the busiest weekend I've ever had, especially since I've had Anthony. Yeah, we had 2 1-year-old birthday parties and a baby shower and a 2-year-old's birthday party.
Oh my!
All in the same weekend, and one of those birthday parties was in McGee for my niece Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
speaking
of
that,
the hall.
Miss Farrah Bottoms was the photographer there, and she told me that she is a frequent listener of the podcast. So
How about that?
I wanted to say hello and thank you for listening. And my sister was really happy with your photos you took of my niece. So
5 stars would bring you back.
Yeah, but we have a fan out there. It's official.
Yeah.
At least there's one.
Yeah, at least there's one, Matthew.
Did you sign an autograph?
I didn't. You know, she walked up. She said, "Whose Farm Bureau vehicle is that?" I was like, "That's mine." She said, "Do you by chance do the podcast?" And I said, "Yes, I do, actually." She said, "I knew I recognized that voice." I said, "Hey, Mary Louise," my wife. I said, "Hey, come here. We got a fan." And she just kind of rolled her eyes.
Yeah, of course. That's how it goes. Matthew, how's your pup doing?
Oh, for those that don't know, I have a little, I guess he's now 5-month-old corgi.
Oh, yeah, cutest
he's
thing
adorable.
in the world.
Wants to chew on everything right now. Put a hole in the drywall last weekend. So
that's
lots of fun.
Interesting.
You got to have soft and hard toys. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think he knows the things he's not supposed to chew on, and that's what he goes for.
Yeah. Okay.
So
a little mischievous then.
Very.
I understand. Also, while we're talking about shout outs, last week's episode, if you watched or listened, you know that we took a little bit of a nostalgic turn right off the bat and got into everything from Letterman jackets, class rings, so on and so forth, prom, things like that. And Brian, the topic of Brian's car in college came up, which was a Fiero.
Beautiful car.
Which I think is, by the way, totally on brand. I can say that because he's not here today. And our man Wes Evans in Benton County texted me on Saturday. I guess he was listening, and he said, "Whoa, what's the beef with Fiero?" Apparently, he has a few, and I proceeded to share some of the photos of his suite, including a white one.
That picture of all that stuff packed on that car
with the mud tires.
Oh yeah.
I know. He's like,
I want to see that thing in person.
He's like, yeah, this is when I was about to drive it to Fort Collins, Colorado. and it was just loaded. A mini motorcycle, like all kinds of stuff.
Look,
piled on.
there's not a better mid-engine car than a Pontiac Fiero. Specifically, the like 88 GTs that had a tendency to blow up and catch on fire.
Oh,
But,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so that was pretty fun. As we mentioned, Brian is out today. He's enjoying some time off with his beautiful bride.
Vacay.
And we're grateful for that. Him able to take some time, recharge.
He needs a break from you, me and you, you know.
Oh,
We give
dude.
him a pretty hard time around here.
For sure he does.
Well, and he's got to prep for, the 8 weeks leading up to ONL.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
That's right. He is probably thinking ahead of that. And so, but I will tell you, it's kind of appropriate that he's not here because the day that this podcast release, you know what day that is?
What?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, Star Wars
Whoa.
Day. And I want to go on record right now. We're going to see if he listens to this podcast. Worst, most annoying holiday out there.
Okay, I got two comments.
Oh, boy. I've set him off now. Star Wars Day is just annoying, man.
Is it a holiday, though? Or is it just a
all right.
day that has been labeled May the 4th because it's May the 4th?
Well, it's May the 4th.
And it just rings well, right?
Yeah.
Now, like, Christmas is a holiday. 4th of July is a holiday.
That's fair.
Memorial Day, Easter, blah, blah.
But what about like National Infrastructure Day? Is that a holiday?
No.
It is for an industry
Infrastructure
association
workers?
or something. Yeah. I mean,
It's a marketing tool, guys. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
yeah, no doubt.
The second one I had to say
Okay.
is it is not annoying. I'm a Star Wars fan. Maybe not as big as Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I disagree with you.
Yeah, I think you're wrong.
Do you really?
I mean, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan first and foremost, but Star Wars is pretty close behind.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
A day just to,
that's
I'm not saying you need to dress up like a Jedi or something like that,
Sure,
but
sure.
like,
No.
hey, a reason to be like,
I wouldn't
oh,
be against it.
Do you go
but
back and watch it today? Or, Thursday?
I just
no,
finished-
but it's a good reason to think about. Like,
I've just watched finished the third season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Like literally a day ago.
What is that?
It's a Star Wars kind of spin-off TV show.
Is that the one with the Baby Yoda on it?
Yep.
yes, that's the one
he
with all
is
the
so
baby
cute,
Yoda
dude.
memes.
Yeah. But I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched all the Star Wars. COVID. A lot of
Star Wars.
A lot of Lord of the Rings.
It was a good time to rip through
all the
some
Marvel
movies.
To watch some of those old. Well, and we were talking last week about how big of a movie fan you are.
Yeah, I can be kind of a nerd, though, with that stuff.
Yeah. We've got a few of those up here on the third floor. I'll tell you that. I have, I was thinking about some stuff, how to sort of bring something. I was trying to bring something fun first to talk about, right? We're not dummies here. We use some entertainment to get our information across from time to time. And, it was kind of a slow day, I should say. But May the 4th, the day that this will go live, it was chocked full of celebrity birthdays. And so I thought I would pick out 3 celebrity birthdays today and ask you a question about them. So Randy Travis, happy birthday. Audrey Hepburn, who's no longer with us. George Clooney, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
All right, so there's 3 celebrity birthdays, and my question to you is, each of you, if you had to pick one of these people to take to dinner, have dinner with,
Yeah.
of those 3 celebrities, which would you choose?
Matthew.
Well, here's the thing.
Deep dive.
Oh yeah,
I don't quite know who Randy Travis is. So he's out.
He's out.
And then,
That would be awkward.
and then you're between 2 movie stars, but see, like, I don't know, like, Ocean's 11 is one of the greatest heist movies of all time. So maybe
Yeah.
I want to take George Clooney to dinner and
I like that.
pick his brain a little bit. So
I like that.
I'm gonna go Audrey.
Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a 4th option that I didn't include.
well, but if it's Audrey Hepburn, it should probably be breakfast, right?
yeah. Oh.
But
Ching. Yeah. Nicely done. There is a 4th option I'll give you as an alternate.
Okay.
only because I threw this one out to Matthew yesterday, and his reaction was priceless. Lance Bass.
Lance Bass.
So in the same vein as Randy Travis.
I'm not a big NSYNC fan.
Yeah, Matthew's like, I don't know who Lance Bass
is. That band Justin Timberlake was in?
Yeah.
Was he NSYNC or Backstreet?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I can't remember.
I think it was NSYNC.
I don't know.
I didn't pay attention hard enough back then. I
Yeah.
guess.
But what was funny about it was Shaylee was ragging him for not knowing who Lance Bass was, and she's like, come on, he was in NSYNC. I think it was NSYNC. He's like, I know Justin Timberlake is in NSYNC, and I think that's all I need to know. I think that was a fair point.
Well, they were the same band.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. I Want It That Way. Which one is that? Is that Backstreet or is that NSYNC? I don't.
Now you got me.
Here's the thing. I'm
guessing.
I'm a millennial, but hardly.
Yeah,
so
yeah. You're just on the cusp.
So,
all right. Well, I guess we should talk about some agriculture news, and
I think that's why we're here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what they keep telling me. But I just like to hang out. Anyhow, we talked about this last week, and as I was making show notes last night, I just wanted to leave it on here, and you'll tell us why it's on here again this week. But farmers market season is upon us.
Yes.
And it is the first weekend of May.
It is. I've already talked to a few farmers markets, farm stand people.
Yeah.
And some of them started a few weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
St. Joseph's and North Little Rock would be one. I talked to Miss Sandy the other day.
Mm-hmm.
They
that place rules.
Yeah. They've got a whole lot going on out there. Almost slightly petting zoo type stuff, high tunnels, the community gardens.
A goat bit me out there one time.
Oh, yeah?
At the Christmas market. We were up near this fence.
Was it just kind of
goats.
a pinch? Or,
yeah, I was just kind of like, I mean, I wasn't trying to pet him or anything. He just kind of reached out and nabbed me.
Hey,
like,
come here.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to
that's
derail.
not a problem. But, yeah, so if they're not open, they're going to be open
this
soon.
weekend, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it could be weather dependent.
Yeah, I am potentially going to the Judd Hill Farmers Market at ASU this Saturday.
Yeah, we
which
talked about that.
is to say, if you're in Jonesboro for graduation this weekend at ASU, make a little pit stop over at the Farmers
Come
Market.
see Matthew.
There you go, man.
See what's going on there. I know they're going to have lots of good stuff. Our good friend Brian Kelly up there sells gladiolas. So if you want some pretty flowers to take home with you, stop by and see him. So,
man, gladiolas are synonymous with Jonesboro.
Yeah.
They used to have a field.
Why is that?
I don't know.
So that field is Brian Kelly's family.
Oh, really?
So
That's
they
cool.
used to be like in the middle of town.
Uh-huh.
But as Jonesboro has expanded, they actually have moved out.
Yeah.
We have a whole video on it. You can go watch.
Oh, really? That pre my time. No,
Shameless
so
plug.
I just know that, I went to school there and lived there, and there's an entire field like right in the middle of town. It's massive.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, it's next to an apartment complex, which they may be involved with, that's named the Gladiolas.
Okay.
The apartment, or used to be back
Yeah.
when I was in school there.
I do know, I think, and I might be wrong, I would have to go back and rewatch the video, but last year was their 100-year anniversary of being a business. Now, not always in Jonesboro, but the quality Gladiolas farm up there, they've been around for about 100 years. So,
Oh man, I'm gonna go back and watch that. Thank you for the tip on that.
got to shamelessly plug my own content.
Well, I think anytime we can bring up some content that we've done previously is
No shame.
I mean, I think one other thing we should mention that I don't see on the notes.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, the YF&R committee announced their 6 finalists for their 2 awards.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I'll
Thank
just
you.
quickly read through these real quick. So there's the Excellence in Ag Award that is for people who most of their income comes from things other than farming.
Yep.
So we have Chris and Brooklyn Heiser from Johnson County, Reed and Sarah Kelly from Faulkner County, Hannah Walker from Baxter County. So congratulations to all 3 of you guys.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
congrats. That's awesome.
And then for the Achievement Award, the top 3 finalists were John Michael and Rachel Bearden of Hot Spring County, Dayton and Lauren McCarty of Stone County, and Justin and Lacey Story of Scott County. So also
Nice.
big congratulations to all 3 of you.
Yeah. And that's a really cool evolution because when John Michael and Rachel won the
They won
the award
excellence in
previously.
ag.
Excellence in ag. Thank you. He was considering going full time, so now he is full time,
Yep.
which would make them eligible for
That's
that.
good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is
man.
cool
Yeah.
to have seen them kind of grow into being a full
A
time
full-time operation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's tough to get to.
Mhm.
Yeah. But if you would like to know who ends up winning that, it'll be announced at O&L this summer. So
Come join us.
Come join us
We'll
and
be there.
give congratulations to these people in person.
Which
So,
is happening in Hot Springs in
Yep.
July. So more info on that to come.
Spa City.
Yeah, buddy. Let me see. Oh, let's hit planning progress report. This
Okay.
has been talk of the town, man. I pay a lot of attention to the planning progress not only in Arkansas but across the country. And if you've paid any attention to this, then you know that the Dakotas have continued to see snow and cold weather. Minnesota, Michigan, it's pretty tough up there
Now
weather-wise.
they've got flooding up there in that part of the Mississippi.
Yeah, because of the snow melt where that is able to happen, things like that. So we're also seeing wheat quality be a real issue across the country and pricing there. Of course, that all ties back to the conflict in Ukraine and things like that. But anyhow, so a lot of news and quickly moving, really, considering the weather. And even here in Arkansas. So if you didn't know or if you haven't tracked this, we are officially off to the wettest start to a year on record. To take that further, I think I saw James Bryant, meteorologist for KATV, say, or maybe it was Todd Jacobian, if we maintained normal rainfall the rest of 2023, it would be a record. It would be the wettest year on record.
Well, and it's not looking good for the next 7 days, to be honest. There's kind of little spots of rain all throughout our forecast.
Yeah. So, a challenging year for planting, but nonetheless, let's see where we are on progress there.
Looks like a big increase.
Yeah, we've seen some jumps for sure. For instance, corn, 62% planted, 35% planted last week. So a nice progress there. 83% this time last year, though.
It's not too far. I mean,
yeah, not too bad. 32% of the corn crop has emerged. 62% so far is rated good to excellent. We will start to move this from a planting progress report to crop condition report as we move forward. 40% of rice has been planted. There's a couple articles out there this week about how rice planting had taken off. I looked back at some USDA maps this morning, just prepping, and saw that last week USDA said we had 3.5 good field days last week. So that likely contributed to this also. But yeah, 40% of the rice has been planted. That continues to trend up, but still dragging behind that 5-year average. 13% of the rice crop in Arkansas has emerged. 23% of soybeans have been planted, almost on par with the 5-year. 10% of that crop has emerged. Cotton is up to 13% planting, which is planted, which is actually running ahead of the 5-year average, which is 10%.
Yeah.
And then we'll start this week reporting on the first hay cutting. We're all the way up to 1% there.
All the way.
But anyhow, important nonetheless as farmers look to restock that inventory from much of that drought impact last year. Some of that I think you'll talk about in a story today as well, maybe this story.
So I was, coming up from McGee Sunday and going down there and back, whatever.
Yeah.
Was it say corn 32% emerged? That's, I saw quite a bit of corn already emerged. I mean,
yeah, we went to Lee and Phillips County over the weekend, and a lot of corn coming up out of the ground down there as well. So
good to see cotton coming around too, though.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Well, let's go ahead and get into some news.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
So this kind of story I've got here has come from Jake Cartwright, our own livestock economist, our Commodity and Regulatory Affairs Department.
Yeah.
He's also over the beef division. So cold storage beef stocks are on the decline in the U.S.
Okay.
And I've got some information here from Jake, as well as a quote or two from him, trying to push his information and trying to get him some publicity.
Let's.
But this is good information, man. I'm pretty excited about it. As of May 1st, the USDA's beef and cold storage report showed a steep decline in stocks of beef, which are in cold storage. This cold storage beef represents meat that's already been processed, packaged, steaks, ground beef. It's going to go to the grocery store. This is its next step in the logistical process or the supply chain. So since the last report in December 2022, stocks have fallen from a nearly 544 million pounds to 480 million pounds.
Goodness gracious.
This represents the first time beef and cold storage numbers dropped below the 5-year trend line since January of 2022.
Okay.
So quoting Jake, if my computer will work here, typically we see a large drop in inventory over the summer months that we never saw last year. Much of this was attributed to herd sell-offs and consolidation last year as producers took advantage of strong markets to adjust herd sizes to diminish the drought-stricken pastures. So if you remember last year, we had that big drought.
Culling.
And then we didn't have the hay to feed this cattle. So a lot of people went ahead and sold their cattle earlier than what they normally would. So what we'll go into here is that number of cattle per head that went into the supply chain, into processing, and to packers was astronomical.
Yeah.
So now you're seeing this meat from that in this cold storage. So I'll go on. What does this mean for going forward? As these numbers fall, packers will be forced to adjust their prices to accommodate the bull market run on beef prices. Since January 1, feeder cattle are up 10% and fed cattle are up 3%. Eventually, these high feeder cattle prices will be reflected in the fed cattle prices and then retail beef prices as well.
Okay.
So eventually, as it goes through the supply chain, the price of that more expensive cattle right now is going to go through that supply chain and then eventually hit retail shelves because the packers are just going to push that price off on the consumer.
Tell me, as the economist, Johnny Mac, is this a simple supply and demand issue?
This is exactly a simple supply and demand issue.
Every time it's supply and demand, I tell you.
I mean, if we could draw the chart here, we could go ahead and find where it's at.
Yeah.
So to finish off, Jake said the current supply of beef and cold storage consists of meat that was produced at cheaper price last year because there were so many cattle pushed in the system. Cost per head of cattle was cheaper. So now that we have finally seen that supply start dwindling, beef that has been produced at the recent higher cost will make its way into stores, and consumers will have to start sharing the burden of the higher cattle prices. So like I said, it was supply at the beginning drove prices per head of cattle down. So that cheaper cattle went into packers. They were processed at a cheaper price, sold at a cheaper price, and now that's the complete opposite. Supply is down because we don't have the herd size.
We can't really backfill.
Yeah,
that.
Since the herd is down, aka supply,
Yeah.
now the prices is higher because the demand's higher. So the price per head of cattle will eventually reflect the high prices in retail, which consumers will have to deal with either in the summer or maybe a little further on.
Yeah. Well, I know we joke about the supply and demand piece quite a bit, but honestly, I've never had anybody explain it to me until we started doing this show together. And the way you explain it makes it so easy for me to understand. And I just go, my brain goes right to supply and demand. I'm like, yep. For the next story, we're going to travel up to D.C., as there were a group of ag industry leaders this week asking Congress to protect ag safety nets in the 2023 Farm Bill. Let me begin by saying our Arkansas Farm Bureau president, Rich Hillman, was among farmer panelists providing testimony to the U.S. Senate Ag Committee's subcommittee on commodities, risk management, and trade on Tuesday morning. The panel's testimony focused on addressing crop insurance, conservation, and commodity programs in the upcoming Farm Bill. Also in the Hill was American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall, who noted producers are asking for zero cuts to the crop insurance program, something I'm sure you hear a lot. He also asked that crop insurance coverage be broadened to those specialty crop producers.
Absolutely.
A topic that we heard discussed at length at the Farm Bill listening session that committee leadership hosted in Jonesboro several months ago.
I was there.
Yeah. Senate Ag Committee Chair Debbie Stabenow, senator from Michigan, says producer feedback on Farm Bill programs is critical, a comment that our counterpart, Senator John Bozeman from right here in Arkansas, has also made clear in his many public remarks about the Farm Bill, including on this very show.
Yes.
Senator Stabenow also noted that in total, Congress has 240 people who have never written nor voted on a farm bill. And she also noted that she's asked the budget committee for spending flexibility to help address the needs of farmers and ranchers. You can see some photos and a little bit more about President Hillman's time with the committee on our social channels. I know that stuff went up on Facebook yesterday, Twitter, so on and so forth. So check it out, and thanks to President Hillman for taking
that's
the time
pretty
to
cool
do
that President Hillman was able to be a part of that. I think that's an awesome representation for the state of Arkansas.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a short break from the news to hear a reminder that keeping rural roads safe during planting season is very important.
Arkansas farmers and ranchers work 7 days a week. That means when you hit the road, you may be sharing it with farm equipment, especially if you're traveling along rural roads and county highways. Farm equipment moves slower than our pickup trucks and minivans. They may not have the safety lights and turn signals of our family vehicles either. The trucks and tractors moving down the road need extra room to make turns, cross bridges, and move through intersections too. We all get in a hurry sometimes, but it's important that we all stay safe, no matter if we're headed to buy groceries or grow them. So next time you're cruising past a pasture or field, keep an eye out for farmers. They'll be sure to keep an eye out for you too. If we all work together, we can make sure Arkansas is cultivating safe roads.
It's so important that we work together to keep each other safe on the roads. Mm-hmm. You may find yourself on the road with a farmer moving hay this time of year, and we're already seeing row crop farmers moving implements down the road as well.
Absolutely.
Let's just all be sure to help one another cultivate safe roads. Now let's get back to the news. So it's my turn.
Yeah, it is.
To give this a little news blip. We've got a new Ag Insider out.
Hello.
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
Yeah. Who's the author here?
It's this guy named John McMinn. I've heard he's an economist, but I don't know what to do really.
I love that you're bringing your own reporting here.
Hey,
That's
man.
awesome,
Matthew's going to plug his material. I got to plug mine.
Heck yeah.
So it's my turn.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and start by just saying that we all know that weather's been pretty crazy here in the state the last few years. Mm-hmm. Peaches aren't any different. They've noticed it as well. Mm-hmm. Since November, reports of freezing temperatures and hailstorms potentially affecting the peach orchards have come in almost monthly increments.
My goodness.
And I should say before I started this is that peaches have been hit pretty hard. This article is going to examine, or what I'm going to say here kind of examines the impact financially that we've had, or weather has had on peaches in the state of Arkansas.
Good to know.
So, like I said, reports of potential damage to the peach orchards has come in monthly. These reports have been followed by concern as to how weather is affecting the summer's peach crop. Due to regional temperature differences in a variety of peaches, or differences in the variety of peaches, some areas were hit harder than others. Okay. So some parts of the state got a little colder. Some parts of the state were in the negative degrees, -7 I saw as low, and then some parts were below freezing. And this is an issue because not only peaches are dormant in the wintertime, their buds are, but that they can only withhold or withstand specific temperatures at a low rate for so long before it eventually damages that bud and you won't get a bloom or a peach off that tree.
Even when it's dormant.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, like I said, some areas are going to be a little different, but also different varieties of peaches bloom at different times of the year or blossom or bud at different times of the year. Mm-hmm. So they may have missed the freeze, but also we had hailstorms at the beginning of the spring.
No doubt.
So some areas reported a total loss, or some were a little more optimistic but still highly concerned. Okay. It's difficult to say how big the loss to expect this year, but it's not too far to estimate an 80% yield loss statewide for peaches
as
this year.
Realistic.
Yeah.
Wow.
As a realistic mark. I mean, you're going to see some parts of the state that could have only lost 50%, but for the most part, as an average, there's a big impact here.
Yeah.
For the state. With all that in mind, if you read the article, you'll see this, but we go into detail about the annual production of peaches, average yield, and also average price per pound the state usually receives. Okay. With this information, we've projected at least a $4.8 million loss in production for the state's peach industry. Mm-hmm. And to be quite honest, I think it's quite a bit more than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Goodness, I hate to hear
think
that.
It's going to be over over $5 million.
Yeah.
But there's things that steps farmers can take to try to mitigate freeze and keep the freeze and frost off their trees. But as many freezes as we got, and as diversified as most peach producers are, it's hard to keep your attention on all that all at the same time, and keep on working hard to try to keep that frost off.
Yeah,
it's pretty difficult. So with all that in mind, don't go out there and say John McMahon told you all the peaches are going to be gone this year.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
So we've talked about farmers markets the past couple of weeks. Do you think folks will be able to buy Arkansas grown peaches at farmers markets this year?
Yeah, not right now because they're not off the trees yet. But
Sure.
This summer when the harvest comes around is when we'll really find out exactly how big of an impact, how much of a loss these farmers have. So if you are normally or traditionally take your family out to U-Pick operations to pick your own peaches, call those orchards ahead of time.
Yeah.
And just ask them exactly, what's your inventory looking like this year? Are you going to have a crop?
Yeah.
Because what's happening in Northwest Arkansas might be different in Eastern Arkansas or
Oh,
Southern
good call.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
don't go thinking that the industry's gone this year because it's not.
Yeah.
It's just it's been hit pretty hard.
Taking a
And
big
this
hit.
is something that seems to be almost every other year.
Yeah.
I was
It's a
gonna
roller
say
coaster
it's-
ride for peaches every year.
It's been a tough 5 years at least for peach farmers. I think last year was a pretty good crop, but then you go back. I know 2020's crop was pretty much gone from freezing too. So.
Yeah,
I don't know if you told me this on this show or just us talking, but you said for every good year, a peach farmer is going to take a few bad years.
Yeah, it could be 3, it could be 4.
Which
You
is
don't
why
know.
they've been forced to diversify. I've talked to you a lot about St. Francis and Cross County having huge peach orchards as I was growing up.
Yeah.
They're gone now.
Yeah.
And it's, likely one of the reasons is because peach farmers have had to diversify and grow cattle or, raise cattle or whatever that may be.
Yeah, I talked to a big producer outside of Conway the other day about a different subject actually, but I was just kind of picking his brains. How many peaches do you have? He said 60 acres. That's quite a bit.
Oh, really?
But he also had all different fruits and vegetables that he was offering. He also had livestock, so he's got a lot of
Pretty
different
diverse
things
operation.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough for a farmer in Arkansas to just be a peach farmer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there is any that are at a commercial level that all they do is peaches.
Yeah.
It'd be tough. I think you have 1 or 2 commercial people in the state, but yeah, you've got to be doing something else to stay in business.
Well, you mentioned being able to read this report. Where might our folks?
ARFB.com.
Yeah.
Click on Ag Insider, and it should be the first article until a new one comes up.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah,
There
so-
it is.
Please look out for that. Please read. Tell your friends.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing that. Thanks for writing that report and bringing it to the show. I think that's pretty interesting. All right, we're going to round out the news this week with some celebratory news that I hope you've seen in the last 24 hours or so. The 76th Annual Arkansas Farm Family of the Year program announced its 2023 County Farm Families of the Year this week. The Arkansas Farm Family of the Year program has helped to recognize outstanding farm families throughout the state. Selection criteria for the Farm Family of the Year includes efficiency of production, conservation of energy and resources, leadership in agriculture and community affairs, home and farm improvement, and home and farm management. Quite the broad array of categories there. The families next up, those county farm families of the year will be visited by a set of judges to determine 8 district farm families of the year, which will be announced June 13th. No doubt we'll talk about that on this show. The state farm family of the year will be announced in December at a luncheon, and then that family will go on to represent Arkansas at the Southeastern Expo Farmer of the Year event in Georgia. Arkansas has had 2 Southeast Farmer of the Year winners, Brian and Nan Kirksey of Clark County in 2008 and Wildy Family Farms of Mississippi County in 2016. The full list of winners can be found at arfb.com, but frankly, we aren't going to go through the entire list today because we would probably be here until Sunday.
Yeah, and it's too cold in here to be here that long.
A quick note, you may not see a family listed for every county in the state. That's okay. The program is voluntary, and participation tends to vary year to year. So there you go. Congrats.
Congratulations.
Farm Families of the Year. All right. That brings us to the end of the news, and I am curious, Matthew, Your first time taking the reins of this show.
But, you know,
Do we just
The
end
man
it there?
behind the
Yeah.
camera is on camera.
Yeah, he
Brian has his Stump the Host. Jenny has her partially
facts.
I was going to say partially factual
we
facts.
don't really know what to call what Jenny brings to this program.
But
Entertainment.
you know, the PR department
False
around Farm Bureau has historically been known for knowing all the best little hole in the wall restaurants around the state. And
I like
what do we
where we're
always
headed.
get back to on the Arkansas AgCast? It's always food.
Always food.
So I'm bringing you some rural restaurant recommendations.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
You like some alliteration there?
Yeah.
I thought about doing some high ed algebra, but I figured that
How do you think how that would go over?
Oh my God.
solve for x. No,
Would probably be kicked
so-
off.
so
Why
I've
are there
got-
letters in this equation?
I've got 3 recommendations for you guys, just and for our listeners too.
Okay.
Luckily, with my job, I get to go all around the state visiting farms, and what happens after you visit a farm lets you go find somewhere to eat. So
if the farmer doesn't feed you.
yeah,
because
well,
they love
do.
to do
They
that.
do sometimes feed you. So first stop is we're going to Stuttgart.
Oh,
to John McMinn's
hey.
hometown.
How about it?
What'd you pick out?
So the Country Gossip.
The country
have you been to the
gossip store?
been.
Yeah.
The Country Gossip is right there on Main Street. It's right across from the Riceland facility. You
Right next to the
honestly,
railroad tracks.
yeah, by the railroad tracks, you probably would miss it. It is the true hole in the wall experience.
Yeah.
I don't. There's not even that many windows. That's a lie. There are windows,
Yeah.
but you look at it and you say, I don't know. But let me tell you, I'm a gumbo connoisseur.
You like their gumbo, huh?
The gumbo's good, huh?
Their chicken gumbo, they only serve it on Mondays.
Mm.
I'd put it up against anywhere in the state of Arkansas.
Really?
And it's in the competition for places in the state of Louisiana too.
Oh,
I know
wow.
that's a little bit blasphemous. If our old compatriot Rob heard me say that, he might
yeah.
push back on that.
I used
but,
to eat there at lunch quite a bit.
Yeah.
I was going to
worked at
ask
John
if
Deere.
you had ever eaten
Oh, yeah.
there.
Quite a bit.
But
Well known,
So
huh?
so my recommendation, if you're ever in Stuttgart on a Monday,
Country Gossip.
stop by the Country Gossip,
Quick.
get you a bowl of gumbo. It is very quick.
Yep.
Priced reasonably. I don't feel like you're walking out of there saying, "Man, why did I spend $30
You know,
on
it
lunch?"
kind of reminds me. Have you ever eaten at, is it Izzy's over here, like West Little Rock?
Izzy's.
I don't
think I have
remember
been
the
there.
name.
Yeah, I think that's the
I don't
name of the
think
place.
I've
We ate
ever
there for
been
lunch
there.
for our admin appreciation day. We took Latasha out. It
yeah.
reminds me a lot of that.
Yeah. But the other thing I would recommend there, if you're a pimento cheese fan, their
I
pimento
am. Put me
cheese
in that
sandwich,
category.
Yep.
top tier. So
No way.
The perfect lunch is going there on a Monday, getting you a bowl of gumbo and a pimento cheese on the side.
Tier
Okay.
pimento cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
Really?
That's what he says.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah. I
I'm
thought
just-
you were saying
And
that.
it's not fancy. It's not,
Is it a dive type place?
Yeah,
Sort of?
Yeah.
kind of.
I always got the Reuben there.
Reuben, that's pretty good
Yep.
too.
Have you
And-
had the menu?
How many times has he been there?
I know.
Well, I'll just say this: back when Keith Sutton used to work here, before he retired, anytime we were in Stuttgart, we pretty much always found
Country
ourselves at
Gossip.
the Country Gossip.
Okay.
They have pie there too.
They do have pie there.
God, I'm going there for lunch.
All right, we're moving on to the second option, going more towards a breakfast place, though they do serve lunch and dinner too.
I
going
like a
to
good breakfast.
going to Walnut Ridge,
Okay.
a place called Moni's Grill.
Moni's Grill.
Yeah, it's right off the main drag there in downtown, but it's straight out of the 80s, right? Like,
Really?
you step in and just it's got the big circular like bar that you can look back at the kitchen and stuff.
Yeah.
Some of their staff there, I'm pretty sure, have been working there for 30
Since
or 40
the
years,
80s.
which I love that, right?
Yeah,
I think
oh,
that's
that's
awesome,
great,
right?
yeah.
But their breakfast, you want a good country, grandma's cooking breakfast.
Greasy spoon kind
Greasy
of a-
spoon.
Stick to your
you know.
ribs kind of pancakes.
Yeah, top tier.
Flapjacks.
They're
Not pancakes, flapjacks.
hash browns, just the perfect amount of crispy. But
Crispy.
the inside still a little soft. So
You're making me hungry.
Yeah,
I didn't
I'm
eat
hungry.
breakfast.
yeah. Well, anyways, Walnut Ridge, if you're ever there, and the other cool thing about it is, if you've heard of Walnut Ridge, probably heard of the Beatles story.
The Beatles story. That's
You're
right.
only maybe a 30-second walk away from seeing their weird Abbey Road monument. And yes, I did say weird because it's strange that community has really latched onto the Beatles story. But
Yeah.
going to Harrison, my hometown, we got Jamie's Local Flavor. It is a farm-to-table kind of a joint.
Really?
So that's always good to see. And when you go in and, you know, not only is it farm-to, but they kind of brag about it a little bit. You know, you like that. They got U.S.-raised catfish, you know, all the fixins. Thing there I will recommend, though, this is probably more of a dinner thing, but get you some bread pudding. Their bread pudding, incredible.
No.
It comes out
You don't do
bubbling.
bread pudding?
No.
You don't do bread pudding?
No, I've tried.
Well, their chicken fried steak's also very good. And Catfish Friday, you know, pretty standard thing in Arkansas. I
Oh,
feel
for
like.
sure, for sure.
The cool thing about Jamie's is, so it started there in Harrison, but now they've opened a second location in Mountain Home. So if you're in Mountain Home, I'm pretty sure they also, in Harrison, they're kind of a restaurant empire there. They have a sports bar it's called Buckets, and great wings. Pretty much the only place in Harrison you can get wings,
You
but
can get wings,
they're very
yeah.
good.
Okay.
And they also have a steakhouse, kind of fancy fine dining restaurant called Marie's.
Really?
Yeah.
Goodness, yeah, they do have
They've got a
quite
little bit
the,
of an empire.
You
Quite the
notice how
empire.
he left your hometown out, but he had 3 for his.
From his. I know
I mean,
it.
you
He's
know.
on the chamber. He's on the chamber there in
on the
Harrison. Yeah.
chamber.
Well, I didn't even mention Neighbor's Mill, you know.
So-
I will add, like down home kind of country cooking.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still open. Holly's in Conway.
Oh, Holly's.
Wow.
Woo. No, it's still
I've
open.
heard you talk about Holly's
Yeah.
before.
If we ever,
You're not working after lunch after eating that.
No,
I mean,
they're
it is delicious.
best fried chicken in the state. They're at
Yeah.
Holly's.
And then what's the one over here?
Bobby's.
Bobby's
is solid,
Kitchen.
but I'll be honest.
Bobby's
Bobby's is solid.
I've
and
only had it once, but
but-
it's good.
Bobby's just wants to be Holly's. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And that's
I don't
that's
disagree.
no offense to Bobby's. Bobby's has some good stuff.
Holly's
We
is
had
really
a
good.
place in Jonesboro that Bobby's reminds me of growing up. When I say that, I mean when I was in college, and it was in a gas station at the corner of Caraway and Johnson, right off like literally right off gas station, right? Gas station. In the back of this gas station and sort of grocery combined, it was called Carr's Grocery. In the back, they had a meat and 3 place that you could eat for $6, you know, for lunch or whatever. And you could even get a meal plan there. I mean, you'd have to, you know, pay. It wasn't like you could use scholarship money or whatever. But anyhow, man, that place was so good. And I think of that place a lot. And that's what Bobby's made me think of. Obviously, Bobby's is a whole restaurant. This was a place in the back of a
It's like a
gas
plate
station.
lunch type deal.
Plate,
Oh, yeah.
blue plate, sort of a, you know, on Wednesdays, you know, they've got meatloaf or chicken fried steak, and then you do your veggies and the roll. And anyhow.
Anyways, to wrap up, I'll give one final good bookend on this episode is that one of our wife and our Excellence in Ag finalists, the Heisers, there in Johnson County, they actually own Sweet Treats, or maybe it's Brooklyn's mom owns. Brooklyn manages the family restaurant Sweet Treats. And
Sweet Treats.
It's right there if you decide to take the Lamar exit to get to Clarksville, it's right there on that highway.
Oh, nice.
Man, some of the best pie you'll have in the state.
I
Right
Really?
there
gotta
at
be
Sweet
easy with
Treats.
that pie.
And last time I was in there, they had all these around the top. They had all these cool teapots and stuff up on the.
nice.
So it's just kind of a cool place, very family family oriented. But yeah, that is your rural restaurant recommendations.
I think that we ought to consider this as a regular segment, maybe a restaurant.
Yeah, we don't need to talk
We
for
don't
10
need to
minutes
talk for
about
10 minutes
restaurants.
about restaurants, but I like this idea. And
Food is agriculture.
food is agriculture, and
is indeed.
not only obviously does agriculture grow the food, but it's oftentimes a meeting point in some of these communities and a spot for those in the industry to
you know
come
you're at a
gather.
good spot whenever you see a bunch of farmers sitting down to eat lunch, because that means
Bunch
hey,
of muddy trucks out front.
it's about to be good.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. All right. Well, that wraps up the news and the food talk for this week. Thanks for following along with the Arkansas AgCast. We're grateful for you taking time to watch and listen.
Remember, you can catch new episodes of the show every Thursday afternoon. Find video episodes on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the audio version on iTunes or Spotify. And make sure you subscribe and leave us a review when you have a few extra minutes.
Yes, please do that. So helpful. The Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau. I'm Jason Brown.
And I'm John McMinn.
And we'll see you next week.